Long before the rise of Yahweh, before the temples of Jerusalem, and before the prophets of Israel, the ancient world was a tapestry of gods, each ruling over their own domain, each venerated by their own people. These were not abstract deities, distant and unknowable, but gods who walked among men, gods who shaped civilizations, gods who waged wars in the heavens and on earth. They were the Anunnaki of Sumer, the Elohim of Canaan, the Netjer of Egypt, beings of immense power, both revered and feared. In the fertile crescent of Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers carved their paths through the land, the Sumerians built the first cities and recorded the first histories. Their cuneiform tablets tell of gods who descended from the heavens, gods who brought knowledge, gods who demanded obedience. At the head of this pantheon stood Enlil, the god of wind and storms, the enforcer of divine law. His word was absolute, his authority unchallenged. But there was another, Enki, the god of wisdom and water, the bringer of secrets, the protector of humanity. Where Enlil sought control, Enki sought liberation. Where Enlil demanded obedience, Enki offered knowledge. This duality, order versus chaos, control versus freedom, would echo through the ages, shaping the destiny of gods and men alike. The Sumerians believed that the gods created humanity to serve them, to toil in their fields and build their temples. But Enki, ever the rebel, defied this order. He gave humanity the gifts of agriculture, writing, and medicine, empowering them to rise above their station. For this, he was both revered and reviled, a god who challenged the status quo, a god who dared to uplift the lowly. His legacy would endure, not in the grand temples of Mesopotamia, but in the whispered secrets of those who sought freedom from divine tyranny. As the centuries passed, the gods of Sumer were adopted and adapted by other cultures. The Akkadians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, each added their own interpretations, their own myths. Enlil became Marduk, the patron god of Babylon, who defeated the chaos monster Tiamat and established his supremacy. Enki became Ea, the wise counselor, the keeper of the sacred Me, the divine laws that governed the universe. But the core conflict remained, the struggle between those who sought to control and those who sought to enlighten. In Canaan, the gods took on new names and new roles. El, the father of the gods, ruled from his mountain throne, while Baal, the storm god, battled the forces of chaos. Asherah, the mother goddess, was venerated as the source of life and fertility. These gods were not distant abstractions, but active participants in the lives of their worshippers. They were gods of the land, gods of the harvest, gods of the storm. But as the Hebrews emerged as a distinct people, their relationship with these gods would change, dramatically and irrevocably. The Hebrew Bible tells of a people chosen by a single God, Yahweh, who demanded exclusive worship and absolute loyalty. But this was not always the case. Early Hebrews practiced monolatry, the worship of one God without denying the existence of others. Yahweh was their God, but he was not the only God. This is evident in passages like Deuteronomy 32, 8-9, where Yahweh is described as one of the sons of El, assigned to rule over Israel, while other gods ruled over other nations. This polytheistic framework would gradually give way to monotheism, but the transition was neither smooth nor inevitable. The rise of Yahweh as the sole God of Israel was not a peaceful process. It was a conquest, a deliberate and often violent suppression of rival gods and their worshippers. The prophets of Israel waged a relentless campaign against the worship of Baal, Asherah, and other deities, condemning them as false gods and idols. The temple in Jerusalem became the center of Yahweh's worship, and its priests enforced strict adherence to his laws. But even as monotheism took hold, the echoes of the old gods lingered, in the stories, in the symbols, in the hidden traditions of those who refused to forget. The question is, why did this shift occur? Why did the Hebrews abandon the gods of their ancestors and embrace the worship of a single jealous God? The answer lies not in divine revelation, but in the political and social realities of the time. The rise of monotheism was a response to crisis, a way to unify a fractured people, to assert their identity in the face of foreign domination. But it was also a continuation of an ancient struggle, a battle for the soul of humanity that had begun in the temples of Sumer and would reach its climax in the teachings of Jesus. If you're fascinated by these revelations and want to explore more hidden truths about our ancient past, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support helps us uncover more mysteries and share them with the world. Let's continue this journey together. The story of Yahweh's rise to power is not just a religious narrative. It is a cosmic drama, a battle for supremacy among the gods. In the ancient world, gods were not abstract concepts, but powerful beings who ruled over specific territories and peoples. Yahweh was no exception. Originally a storm god associated with the mountains of Sinai, he was one among many deities worshipped by the early Hebrews. But over time, he would transcend his origins, becoming the supreme God of Israel and eventually the only God. This transformation was not without conflict. The Hebrew Bible is filled with stories of Yahweh's battles against rival gods, Baal, Asherah, Moloch, and others. These were not mere myths. They were reflections of a real struggle for dominance, both among the gods and among their worshippers. The prophets of Israel, from Elijah to Isaiah, played a crucial role in this struggle, denouncing the worship of other gods and promoting Yahweh as the one true God. But Yahweh's rise was not just a religious phenomenon, it was also a political one. The unification of Israel under kings like David and Solomon required a unifying religious ideology. Yahweh, as the national God of Israel, served this purpose. His temple in Jerusalem became the center of worship, and his priests became the enforcers of religious orthodoxy. But this centralization of power came at a cost. The old gods, the local deities who had been worshipped for generations, were pushed aside, their temples destroyed, their worshippers persecuted. This process of religious centralization mirrored the political centralization of the Israelite state. Just as the kings of Israel sought to consolidate their power, so too did the priests of Yahweh seek to consolidate their religious authority. The result was a monotheistic system that was as much about control as it was about faith. Yahweh was not just a god, he was a symbol of unity, a tool for maintaining order in a fractured and often rebellious society. But the old gods did not disappear entirely. They lived on in the stories, in the symbols, in the hidden traditions of those who refused to accept the new order. The prophets railed against the worship of Baal and Asherah, but their persistence suggests that these gods still held sway over many people. Even within the temple itself, there were hints of the old ways. The cherubim that adorned the Ark of the Covenant, for example, were not unique to Israelite religion. They had their origins in the iconography of other ancient Near Eastern cultures. The rise of Yahweh, then, was not a clean break with the past, but a complex and often contradictory process. It was a struggle for power, both among the gods and among their worshippers. And it was a struggle that would continue in different forms for centuries to come. By the time of Jesus, the religious landscape of Judea was deeply fractured. The temple in Jerusalem, once the center of Yahweh's worship, had become a symbol of corruption and oppression. The priests who served there were more concerned with maintaining their power than with serving the people. The Pharisees, though more focused on religious law, had become rigid and legalistic, enforcing a strict interpretation of the Torah that left little room for compassion or mercy. Into this world came Jesus, a man who challenged the very foundations of the religious and political order. His teachings were radical, his message revolutionary. He spoke of a kingdom not of this world, a kingdom where the last would be first and the first would be last. He emphasized love, forgiveness, and direct communion with the divine, rejecting the need for intermediaries like priests or temples. In doing so, he posed a direct threat to the established order, both religious and political. But Jesus was more than just a religious reformer. He was a figure of cosmic significance. His teachings echoed the ancient wisdom of Enki, the god who sought to liberate humanity from the control of the gods. Like Enki, Jesus challenged the authority of the powerful, offering a path to enlightenment and freedom. And like Enki, he paid the ultimate price for his defiance. The crucifixion of Jesus was not just a political execution. It was a cosmic event, a moment when the forces of control and liberation clashed in a dramatic and decisive way. The religious authorities who condemned him saw him as a threat to their power, a man who undermined the very foundations of their authority. The Roman authorities saw him as a threat to their empire, a man whose teachings could inspire rebellion. But in the end, his death was not the end of his message. It was the beginning of a new chapter in the cosmic struggle. The crucifixion of Jesus was not merely a historical event. It was a cosmic turning point, a moment when the forces of control and liberation clashed in a dramatic and decisive way. To understand its significance, we must look beyond the surface, beyond the political machinations of the Roman Empire and the religious jealousy of the Jewish priesthood. We must see it as part of a larger struggle, a struggle that began in the ancient temples of Sumer and would continue to shape the destiny of humanity. When Jesus was nailed to the cross, it was not just a man who died, it was a symbol of resistance, a challenge to the established order. The cross itself, an instrument of Roman execution, became a symbol of defiance, a reminder that the powers of this world could not extinguish the light of truth. But the crucifixion was also a fulfillment of prophecy, a moment when the cosmic drama reached its climax. In the ancient world, the cross was more than just a tool of execution. It was a symbol of divine power. In Mesopotamia, the cross was associated with the Anunnaki, the gods who ruled over humanity. The Maltese cross, for example, was a symbol of Anu, the father of the gods, the ruler of the heavens. In Egypt, the Ankh, a cross with a looped top, was a symbol of eternal life, held by the gods and pharaohs as a sign of their divine authority. Even in pre-Columbian America, the cross was a sacred symbol representing the connection between heaven and earth. When Jesus was crucified, the cross took on new meaning. It became a symbol of sacrifice, of redemption, of the ultimate triumph of love over hate, of light over darkness. But it was also a symbol of the cosmic struggle, a reminder that the forces of control would stop at nothing to maintain their power. The crucifixion was not just the death of a man, it was the death of an idea that threatened to upend the established order. Yet even in death, Jesus' message could not be silenced. His resurrection, as described in the Gospels, was a direct challenge to the powers of this world. It was a declaration that the forces of control could not win, that the light of truth could not be extinguished. The resurrection was not just a miracle, it was a cosmic event, a moment when the balance of power shifted, when the forces of liberation gained the upper hand. But the story does not end there. The resurrection was just the beginning of a new chapter in the cosmic struggle. The early Christians, inspired by Jesus' teachings, carried his message to the far corners of the Roman Empire. They faced persecution, torture, and death, but they refused to be silenced. They believed that they were part of something greater, part of a cosmic drama that would ultimately lead to the triumph of light over darkness. The rise of Christianity was one of the most dramatic and transformative events in human history. From a small sect of Jewish followers in Judea, it grew to become the dominant religion of the Roman Empire, shaping the course of Western civilization for centuries to come. But this rise was not without its contradictions. While Jesus' message was one of liberation and enlightenment, the institutionalization of Christianity often betrayed that message, reinforcing the very systems of control that Jesus had sought to dismantle. In the early years, Christianity was a radical movement, a challenge to the established order. The early Christians rejected the authority of the Roman Empire and the Jewish priesthood, proclaiming a new kingdom, a kingdom of love and justice. They shared their possessions, cared for the poor, and welcomed all people, regardless of race or status. They were a community of equals, united by their faith in Jesus and their commitment to his teachings. But as Christianity grew, it began to change. The Roman Empire, which had once persecuted Christians, saw an opportunity to use Christianity to consolidate its power. In 313 CE, Emperor Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, granting religious tolerance to Christians. In 380 CE, Emperor Theodosius made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. This was a turning point, not just for Christianity, but for the cosmic struggle. The institutionalization of Christianity marked the beginning of a new phase in the cosmic struggle. The Roman Church, now aligned with the state, became a tool of control, enforcing orthodoxy and suppressing dissent. The teachings of Jesus were reinterpreted to serve the interests of the powerful. The cross, once a symbol of defiance, became a symbol of imperial authority. The message of liberation was replaced by a message of obedience. The Council of Nicaea in 325 CE was a key moment in this process. Convened by Constantine, the council sought to establish a unified Christian doctrine, but it also served to suppress alternative interpretations of Jesus' teachings. The Gnostics, who emphasized personal spiritual experience and hidden knowledge, were declared heretics. The Arians, who denied the divinity of Jesus, were condemned. The result was a Christianity that was more about control than liberation, more about power than love. But even as the institutional church sought to control the message of Jesus, the cosmic struggle continued. The Gnostics, the Essenes, and other esoteric traditions preserved the hidden wisdom of Jesus, passing it down through the centuries. These traditions, often persecuted and suppressed, kept alive the idea that the true message of Jesus was one of liberation, not control. The cosmic struggle that began in the temples of Sumer continues to this day. It is a struggle between those who seek to control and those who seek to liberate, between those who enforce obedience and those who offer enlightenment. The story of Jesus is just one chapter in this larger drama, but it is a chapter that continues to resonate, to inspire, to challenge. The legacy of Jesus is not just the institutional church with its hierarchies and doctrines, it is also the hidden wisdom, the esoteric traditions, the movements for justice and liberation that have carried his message forward. From the mystics of the Middle Ages to the reformers of the Renaissance, from the abolitionists of the 19th century to the civil rights activists of the 20th century, the spirit of Jesus has lived on in those who have dared to challenge the powers of this world. But the cosmic struggle is far from over. The forces of control are still at work, in the halls of power, in the institutions of religion, in the systems of oppression that continue to divide and dehumanize. The message of Jesus, the message of love and liberation, is still a threat to those who seek to maintain their power at any cost. And so, the question remains, what does it mean to follow Jesus in a world that is still dominated by the forces of control? It means to resist, to challenge, to speak truth to power. It means to embrace the hidden wisdom, to seek enlightenment, to live in love and compassion. It means to be part of the cosmic struggle, to stand on the side of liberation, to believe that the light of truth can never be extinguished. The story of Jesus is not just a story of the past, it is a story of the present, a story of the future, It is a story that invites us to take part in the cosmic drama, to play our role in the ongoing struggle for the soul of humanity. And it is a story that reminds us that, no matter how dark the world may seem, the light of truth will always prevail. The cosmic struggle between control and liberation did not end with the rise of Christianity or the fall of the Roman Empire. It has continued to shape human history, manifesting in new forms and new contexts. Today, this struggle is as relevant as ever, playing out in the realms of politics, religion, science, and culture. The forces of control, those who seek to dominate, to suppress, to enforce conformity, are still at work. But so too are the forces of liberation, those who seek to enlighten, to empower, to set humanity free. In the modern world, the struggle often takes the form of a battle for knowledge. Just as the ancient priests of Mesopotamia and the institutional church sought to control access to divine wisdom, so too do modern institutions seek to control the flow of information. Governments, corporations, and religious organizations often act as gatekeepers, deciding what knowledge is accessible and what is suppressed. The internet, once hailed as a tool of liberation, has become a battleground, with algorithms and censorship shaping what we see and what we believe. But the forces of liberation are also at work. The rise of independent media, grassroots movements, and open-source technology has challenged the monopoly of traditional gatekeepers. Whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning have exposed the secrets of the powerful, risking everything to bring truth to light. Movements like Black Lives Matter and Number Me Too have challenged systems of oppression, demanding justice and equality. These are the modern-day prophets, the voices of liberation in a world still dominated by control. The struggle is also evident in the realm of science and technology. Just as the ancient gods bestowed knowledge upon humanity, so too do modern scientists and innovators seek to unlock the secrets of the universe. But this knowledge is not always used for liberation. Advances in artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and surveillance have the potential to empower humanity, but they also have the potential to enslave us. The question is, who controls this knowledge, and to what end? In the field of medicine, for example, the struggle between control and liberation is starkly evident. Pharmaceutical companies driven by profit often prioritize expensive treatments over affordable cures. Governments and corporations control access to life-saving drugs, deciding who lives and who dies. But there are also those who seek to liberate medicine, to make it accessible to all. Organizations like Doctors Without Borders and the open-source drug discovery movement are challenging the status quo, putting human lives above profit. The cosmic struggle is also playing out in the realm of spirituality. Just as the ancient gods were worshipped in temples and shrines, so too do modern religions and spiritual movements seek to connect humanity with the divine. But here too, the forces of control are at work. Institutional religions often enforce rigid doctrines, suppressing alternative interpretations and spiritual practices. But there are also those who seek to liberate spirituality, to make it a personal and transformative experience. The rise of mindfulness, meditation, and holistic healing reflects this desire for liberation, for a direct connection with the divine. In this ongoing cosmic struggle, what is the role of the individual? Are we merely pawns in a larger game, or do we have the power to shape the outcome? The answer lies in the ancient wisdom of Enki and the teachings of Jesus. Both emphasized the importance of personal responsibility, of seeking knowledge, of standing up to oppression. Both believed in the power of the individual to challenge the forces of control and to bring about liberation. The first step is awareness, to recognize the forces of control in our lives, whether they come from governments, corporations, religions, or even our own minds, is to begin the process of liberation. This awareness is not always easy. The forces of control are often subtle, disguised as tradition, authority, or even love. But once we see them for what they are, we can begin to resist. The second step is action. Liberation is not a passive process. It requires courage, determination, and sacrifice. It means standing up to injustice, even when it is dangerous. It means speaking truth to power, even when it is unpopular. It means living in accordance with our highest values, even when it is difficult. This is the path of the modern-day prophet, the path of those who seek to bring light to a dark world. The third step is community. The cosmic struggle is not a solitary endeavor, it is a collective effort. Just as the early Christians formed communities of love and support, so too must we build networks of solidarity and mutual aid. These communities are the seeds of a new world, a world based on justice, equality, and compassion. They are the living embodiment of the message of Jesus, the message of liberation. What does the future hold for the cosmic struggle? Will the forces of control continue to dominate, or will the forces of liberation prevail? The answer is not predetermined. It depends on the choices we make, individually and collectively. But there are reasons for hope. The rise of global movements for justice, equality, and environmental sustainability suggests that the forces of liberation are gaining strength. The spread of information technology has made it harder for the powerful to control the narrative. The growing interest in spirituality and personal transformation reflects a deep yearning for liberation, for a connection with something greater than ourselves. At the same time, the forces of control are also adapting. Authoritarian regimes are using technology to suppress dissent and monitor their citizens. Corporations are exploiting our data and manipulating our behavior. Religious fundamentalism is on the rise, enforcing rigid doctrines and suppressing alternative views. The cosmic struggle is far from over. But perhaps the most important lesson of the cosmic struggle is that it is not a battle between good and evil, but a tension between two necessary forces. Control and liberation are not opposites, they are complementary. Without control, there is chaos. Without liberation, there is stagnation. The challenge is to find the balance, to create a world that is both orderly and free, both stable and dynamic. This is the ultimate message of the cosmic struggle, that we are not powerless, that we have the ability to shape our destiny, that we can create a world that reflects our highest values. It is a message of hope, of possibility, of transformation. And it is a message that invites us to take part in the ongoing drama of the cosmos, to play our role in the great story of liberation. The cosmic struggle between control and liberation is not just a story of the past. It is a living, breathing reality that continues to shape our world. From the ancient temples of Sumer to the modern halls of power, this struggle has defined the course of human history. It is a struggle for the soul of humanity, a battle between those who seek to dominate and those who seek to liberate, between those who enforce obedience and those who offer enlightenment. But this struggle is not just about gods and empires, priests and prophets. It is about us, about our choices, our actions, our lives. Each of us is a participant in this cosmic drama, whether we realize it or not. Every time we stand up to injustice, every time we seek truth, every time we act with compassion, we are aligning ourselves with the forces of liberation. And every time we succumb to fear, every time we conform to oppression, every time we turn away from the suffering of others, we are aligning ourselves with the forces of control. The question is, which side will we choose? Will we be agents of liberation, or will we be complicit in control? The answer is not always easy. The forces of control are powerful, pervasive, and often invisible. They are embedded in our institutions, our cultures, our minds. But the forces of liberation are also powerful. They are the spark of divinity within us, the voice of conscience, the longing for freedom and truth. The teachings of Jesus and the wisdom of Enki remind us that liberation is not just a distant ideal, It is a practical, everyday reality. It is found in the small acts of kindness, in the moments of courage, in the choices we make to live in accordance with our highest values. It is found in the communities we build, the relationships we nurture, the love we share. Liberation is not something we wait for. It is something we create here and now. But liberation is also a collective endeavor. It requires us to come together, to support one another, to work for the common good. It requires us to challenge the systems of oppression that divide us, to dismantle the structures of control that dehumanize us. It requires us to imagine a new world, a world based on justice, equality, and compassion, and to take concrete steps to bring that world into being. This is the call to action at the heart of the cosmic struggle. It is a call to awaken, to rise up, to take our place in the great story of liberation. It is a call to be prophets in our own time, to speak truth to power, to challenge the forces of control, to offer a vision of a better world. It is a call to be like Jesus, like Enki, like all those who have dared to stand up to oppression and to fight for the liberation of humanity. As we reflect on the cosmic struggle, we are reminded that this is not just a story of the past. It is a story of the present and the future. The forces of control and liberation are still at work, shaping our world in profound and often unseen ways. The choices we make today will determine the course of this struggle and the legacy we leave for future generations. But we are not alone in this struggle. We are part of a long lineage of prophets, rebels, and visionaries who have fought for liberation throughout history. We are connected to the ancient gods of Sumer, to the prophets of Israel, to the early Christians, to the mystics and reformers of every age. Their courage, their wisdom, their sacrifice inspire us to continue the fight, to keep the flame of liberation alive. And we are also connected to one another. The cosmic struggle is not a solitary endeavor. It is a collective effort. It is the work of communities, of movements, of humanity as a whole. Together, we have the power to challenge the forces of control, to create a world that reflects our highest values, to bring about the liberation of all beings. This is the ultimate message of the cosmic struggle, that we are not powerless, that we have the ability to shape our destiny, that we can create a world of justice, equality, and compassion. It is a message of hope, of possibility, of transformation. And it is a message that invites us to take part in the ongoing drama of the cosmos, to play our role in the great story of liberation. So let us rise to the challenge. Let us be agents of liberation in our own time. Let us stand up to the forces of control, speak truth to power, and work for the common good. Let us build communities of love and support, and create a world that reflects our highest values. And let us remember that, no matter how dark the world may seem, the light of truth will always prevail. For in the end, the cosmic struggle is not just about gods and empires, priests and prophets. It is about us, about our choices, our actions, our lives, and it is about the future we create, together,